Here is a cavity on the back of a lower left molar. When you look at the x-ray, you can see that there's an area of decay, but decay is only shown at 70% because of the radiation can't be that strong. You can also see where the nerve chamber is and where that red pulp chamber is. If the decay gets there, the person's going to need a root canal. If the material goes too far, and there's unsupported enamel, it's going to fracture the tooth as well. Here's a piece of tooth that would come off in a fracture like that. So we're back at the tooth. You can see that there's an old sealant there. This is a 26-year-old female, and it has a number of cavities. The other side of her mouth looks exactly the same. And if it's just within the green area, we're looking at just a normal filling. If it's more like the red area, it's going to be large enough that there'll be unsupported enamel there, and the person probably needs some sort of either a crown or an onlay for that tooth. You can see the soft tooth structure that's being removed, and teeth are supposed to be hard, not soft. And we open it up a little bit more, and we can tell that, yes, indeed, there's a significant amount of decay, which is not a surprise. I'm using a mirror to try and keep this as small as possible, and the indirect vision allows me to go inside the tooth and remove the decay. You can see the dark brown that's up underneath the enamel on the end of the tooth there, the distal portion of it, and that needs to all be removed. So I'll come back a little bit later and remove that enamel as well as the decay. This is kind of the long version of explaining this so that the patient really understands that, yes, they needed more than just a normal filling, that the decay did go horizontally to a situation where the tooth no longer has supported enamel. So I'm removing the outside area, and we'll come back to where the enamel meets the dentin. That particular junction is a very difficult area, and if there's any decay that's left behind that continues to percolate and go up underneath, you can see that little brown ring, which doesn't look too bad, but when we actually go and check with a spoon excavator, you can see how the enamel stays there, but the dentin underneath is infected with the enamel, and we're able to see that that's all the way around, and that can't be left behind, otherwise the filling won't last, and the situation will be even worse a year or two down the line. And you can see how deep it is on the base of the tooth as well. And that there's still decay in the inner portions of it. Even then, that little brown dot should be removed because you don't want to leave any decay behind. Because even if you had the perfect seal, a perfect seal doesn't last forever, and the filling will eventually, the bonding will eventually be loosened. And I'm using a brown burr here as well at about 2,000 RPMs, very slow amount to remove everything. And then I'm doing it underwater here to remove the enamel. And we go back and check again. And even the second time of checking, you'll see how the enamel still isn't quite right. Still pulling things out. That are soft. So we'll go back and remove a little bit more. And as this goes more horizontally, you can see how thin the enamel is. And it's going to be basically that whole outside wall is going to be enamel. Problem with that is if you just put a filling there, eventually that enamel, being unsupported by any structure, will chip and break. That breakage can go significantly up underneath the tooth and under the gum area and possibly the bone, and the person could lose the tooth. And in a situation like that where it's so undeveloped and it's all enamel on that back edge there, that's why a person would need an onlay or a crown. Now, to explain that to somebody when you first see the filling is a very difficult diagnosis, because you really don't know if the enamel is going to spread that far horizontally or if it's going to spread that far vertically. Here I am using the mirror to remove that little bit of decay that's on the inside, and that's out nicely. And truly the best way to do that is with a mirror with indirect vision, and oftentimes it takes a little more doing to do that. It takes a little bit more time. And to remove all this decay and to prepare the tooth, that takes a lot of time. And then the determination is okay, now that we've pretty close to getting all the decay out, do we just put a filling on top of it or a base? Or are we so close to the nerve that it's going to need what's called a pulp cap, which is material that helps to cause the nerve to recede from the area. And it really varies on insurance companies as to if they cover that sort of situation. Some would prefer you to just place a filling, and someday when you need a root canal that you just need it. Statistically, though, the pulp cap or the base is a good thing to do, and oftentimes a person's tooth will last for a long period of time because of it. Now, when you look at this view here in the mirror, it doesn't look so bad, but when you look at the actual tooth down below, you can see how that enamel is unsupported, that there's going to be filling material, and one of the underneath the enamel. And one of the things that's very important is to be able to get light to every portion of the filling material, unless, of course, you're using a dual cure material. Here is the base that we're placing, and this one has fluoride in it as well. The fluoride only lasts for a particular amount of time, but seems to work really well. So putting the filling material in, you can see the tongue is really close to where we were working. I'm adjusting it now with the finishing burrs to make that nice and smooth. If there was any moisture, there would be a brown line that would occur where the filling is, right around that corner there, where the tooth, right there. And we'll see if there was any moisture over time. Historically, I've been able to keep that nice and dry so that the bonding has been able to last a very long years and years. Here's the polished filling when we're done. And when you look at the filling in from the outside, it looks perfectly fine. But it truly is that area on the back part of the tooth is under supported enamel, the end of the filling. And the person should consider having that with an onlay, unless, of course, the bite is adjusted. Here's a picture again of a tooth having the filling broken that was unsupported. And you can actually see the tooth structure here that was pulled out.